Okay, let's jump over to the educator sheet. Here we have our teachers, their years of service, and their salary. And those are the areas that we're going to look at. What we're going to do here is we're going to look at teacher salaries. We're going to use the intercept and slope functions to verify the trend line equations. And then we're going to use a couple other functions to verify the accuracy of our findings. We're just going to check our work. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to use a forecast linear function to forecast what would the salaries look like if somebody were to stay and teach for 30 years. Again, we're going to have that plus or minus our standard error that I talked about in the last video. We're going to look at that here on this video. Let me zoom in a little bit. I think we can do that. Let's click in G4, and here we're going to insert a scatter plot. So our plot right here, and it's just going to be this first plot here. There's nothing happening because we haven't selected any of our data. So we need to select our data. Click on the chart so that we can get the design and the format tab. On the design tab, we're saying select data, and we're going to add data. Now here we have a series name. I'm not going to worry about the series name right now, but what I do want to worry about is the X value. Now the X value is going to be years of service. This is a timeline. Click on C3, shift control down arrow, and then in my Y series, I'm going to delete the information there, otherwise it's going to throw some errors, and I want salaries. So I'm going to click in D3, shift control down arrow, and say OK. And then OK one more time. Here's my chart. Now we're going to add some elements to the chart. So chart elements, make sure that I have a trend line. And then right here on the trend line, I'm going to click on the little more arrow and say more options, making sure that my trend line option is selected. And I'm going to come all the way down to the bottom. And I have a couple different things here. I'm going to make sure that I have the equation shown on the chart, and I want to see that R squared value on the chart. This information is a little bit covered up, so we're going to change the location. We'll move that right over here, and then we're going to change the chart title. So salary analysis. Click enter. Being that we are going to add more information to our sheet, let's go ahead, move the chart so we're not covering up our data, and we're going to put that right here in the corner of G6. So to check our work, let's use the intercept and slope function. So we have our slope function here. We also see our R square value. But let's just go ahead and click in G22, type intercept. And then below this one, let's go ahead and put in our slope. Over here in H22, we're going to use the intercept function. So equals intercept. And I can just scroll down here until I get to intercept. Tab. Notice I see the Y and the X. I'll go ahead and open up the function argument dialog box so we can see that. We've already used these before, right, in the last formula. So let's use the same one. What is our Y information? Well, our Y is the values. That's the one that goes up and down on your chart. See right here. These are the values. That's our Y. So clicking in D3, shift control down arrow. The X values across the bottom is years of service. So I'm going to make sure that I do a shift control down arrow and click OK. Notice that the intercept here is exactly the same as the intercept here. That's where it says that's where it intercepts at 0. If you extend this trend line down, that's going to hit $18,042. That's at 0 times. So what is our slope? Well, let's use the slope function. So slope, again, Y and X's. I'll open up the function argument dialog box. Our Y, well, that's our values. Shift control down arrow. Our X's, that's years of service. Shift control down arrow, click OK. And we see our slope here matches what we have here. Let's go ahead and put a couple more checks in. We're going to do our R squared. So this one here, we're going to type RSQ for R squared, enter, and standard error. Go ahead and click in H24. Now remember when we talked about standard error, that's where we do our plus or minus. So we could be in between those areas. I'll show you how that works here just momentarily. So for R squared, we're going to use equals RSQ, known Y, known X. Gosh, a little deja vu going on. So our Y's, shift control down arrow. Our X's, years of service, shift control down arrow, enter. And we see R square value on our chart matches the R square value here. And we see a little rounding, but that's okay. Now, let's look at our standard error, meaning that if we did just the average salaries, a teacher would make X amount of dollars. But they could earn a little bit more or they could earn a little bit less. Not everybody earns exactly the same. Some are a little higher, some are a little lower. And that's that standard error we're going to look at, especially if we're at different schools. All right, so for standard error, we're going to go equals STE. So the standard error of X and Y. Tab, open up my function argument dialog box. So this returns the standard error of the predicted Y and X values in a regression. Again, Y's are salaries, shift control down arrow. X's, years of service, shift control down arrow. Click OK. Our salaries, we have an average salary, but they could make anywhere from $5,700 more or $5,700 less than the average. So we have about $11,400 difference there from top and bottom salaries for the same amount of years of service. Now let's go figure out their predicted salary. So I'm going to click in G3 and type predicted salary. And then I want to know their high salary, so I will go high, and a low salary, so I'll say low. Click in H3 and let's forecast. Let's do a forecast, and we want a linear forecast. So I'm going to scroll down here to linear forecast, hit tab. Go ahead and open up my function argument dialog box. We have the X value. That's our years of service. That's that guy right here. So we're going to say years of service in H2. Now we have our Y values. That's our values of salaries. So shift control down arrow, our known X, years of service. Shift control down arrow. Okay, this is our predicted salary. At 30 years, we expect our people to make somewhere around $106,000. But some may make more than that. So I'm going to say, how much more could they make? Well, they're going to make the salary plus the standard error. So that is our high amount. Enter. What is our low amount? Well, again, that's going to be equals our predicted salary minus the standard error. Enter. I'm going to go ahead and apply accounting format. So I can say, here's the predicted salary, but they could make maybe 111 or they could make 100,000 even after 30 years of service. Click on the first sheet, grab all sheets, page layout, open up my page layout. First of all, let's go to header, footer, custom footer, put your first name in the first box, the sheet name in the center, and the file name on the far right. Click OK. Let's do a quick print preview. 17 sheets, and that's, yeah, definitely don't want to see this. All right, so what I'm going to do now is let's make the width one sheet. Let's change the orientation to landscape. Now, it wouldn't make sense to have 153 rows or 153 records on one sheet. It just crunches things up too much. So I think probably that's going to be okay if I do a Control P to get into the backstage view. 12 sheets. This is one sheet. I like it. That's okay. There I can see all of my analysis. I like it. That one's okay because it's long. I can see my charts. Good. That one I like. And that's just extra data. We're okay there. Now that that's done, let's make a PDF. For me, I'm going to click on my little PDF or XPS icon up here. Well, actually, before I do that, let's hit save. Then I'll make a PDF. So go PDF, options, entire workbook, okay, and then publish. And there is my 12 pages. All right, guys, that's it. We'll see you on the next chapter.